So let's continue with the kitchen. Hi ladies, welcome back to our channel. I'm Andrea and I'm so happy that you're joining us. I'm still working on the kitchen, so come along and join me as I declutter and minimalize the things that we have. Now keep in mind it's gonna look different for everyone, so minimalizing for one person will be super condensed, like maybe they'll have one of each thing. We are a family of 6 and we do have guests often, so our minimalizing will definitely look different, but I think it really helps to get to the decluttering and getting rid of things that we don't use. One thing that I have done as I've been going through different areas, there's times when I'm not actually decluttering or minimalizing, and so as I open a drawer, if I see something that I know I can get rid of, I've been doing my 2 bins where one is for like garbage or recycling and one is for donations, and I've just been taking those stuff and putting them in one of the 2 piles. That way I don't have to wait to get to that section in order to declutter or minimalize. I can just do it as I go through the day instead of dedicating specific time to decluttering and minimalizing. So I'm dedicating some time right now. Let's get started on the rest of the kitchen. So this time I'm starting with the pots and pans. Some of these are really old, like I've had them pretty much since we've gotten married. Other ones I just use really frequently. So I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the small one, but these 2 bigger ones I'm gonna keep because I love making crepes 2 at the same time. It just speeds up the process a lot. So over time I'll probably need to replace them, but for now I use them all the time. Now when it comes to this, I don't think I've used it often enough to actually hold on to it, so I'm gonna go ahead and pass that along. And this is always my go-to pot, so definitely will keep this for dinners since I often use it. Now when it comes to these old non-stick pans that I had, my husband was gracious enough to gift me new ones at Christmas, so I'm going to be actually moving the ones that he gifted to me and I'm going to put them in this drawer. When it comes to these stainless steel ones, I don't feel like I really use them, so I'm going to go ahead and pass them along to somebody who actually can use them. And here are the new ones that he ended up getting me. I absolutely love them, and obviously it's always nice to get new things when you have like super beat up ones. So I'm going to wipe down the drawer and then I'm going to go ahead and put these back in, and perfect, they do actually fit and I can still close the drawer. And just hopefully as I go through each section I'm able to just get rid of things that I don't use, and then with time, once I see like what I've minimalized to, hopefully it'll give me a better idea of what I don't use often enough and can actually part with. Now moving on to the pots, I do like having that strainer. I should probably just take it out of the box. I do have a lot of these things that go on top of containers. They're kind of like a replacement for plastic wrap, but since a lot of my containers already have lids, I really just don't really use them. I like the idea of having them for the few times that I need to use plastic wrap, but otherwise I'm just going to go ahead and pass them along. Now here are the splatter guards that I actually use really often. I use the big one that's kind of burnt around the edges, but I do like the fact that it's a bigger size and it covers like majority of the pans that I have. But I can definitely get rid of one of the smaller ones since they're not my go-to. I do feel like I don't use these small ones, and so I should just part with it. And I could probably just get by with one of those instead of 2. As I'm doing this, in the back of my mind I'm thinking I hope I don't regret this, but that's because again I love cooking, so we do use a lot of these things. So I tried readjusting the pots several times. I just wanted to not look cluttered and make sure that they're not stacked. I noticed very quickly that I don't like dishes that are stacked because it just adds another thing to do when it's time to prep dinner. Now that it's a lot less, it'll be much easier to figure out what I actually use and what I need to get rid of over time. Let me take you to the next one. Fair warning, this is definitely messy, and that's because I don't have a way to organize it. I know I need to just get rid of a bunch of these things. You know that you're not going to use it when you still have a tag on it, but I'm going to give myself a little more time just because, like I said, things have been kind of hidden away. And I know when we moved and I got this, I was super excited to use it, and I'm going to give myself a little bit more time. If I see that I don't use it, then I'll just let it go. I use this all the time for like slicing cucumbers and different things, so I'm definitely going to hold on to this. I don't know if you guys have this issue, but I tend to hold on to things that come as sets. So like this came with this piece, and I guess you're supposed to use it. I never ever use it. I feel so bad to like detach from these things, but in reality, notice I have another one. I should just part with them because they just take up space and I don't actually use them, even though they're part of like these sets. Unfortunately, the hand chopper has to lay down because the drawer doesn't close otherwise. I also have this other chopper that I absolutely love and I use all the time. If you notice, I keep a lot of kitchen tools. That's because I want dinner and lunch to be super quick and convenient. And bear with me as I try to figure out what to get rid of, because yes, I also have a green shredder and the red shredder in the back, and I have another like round shredder that goes in a circle and has like a handle down underneath this drawer. So yes, I have 3 shredders and I do use them all. Then I have a random lid from some container that I used to have that I don't have anymore. That's why it's important to go through our stuff, because notice I do have things that we don't even own anymore. I also love this, and that's probably because this is more realistic for like when you're serving a guest or when we're eating at dinner and people want like cheese shredded, then I go and resort to this instead of shredding a whole bunch in this container. So I decided otherwise and actually got rid of the white round shredder and still hoping to drop down from the 3 that I currently still have. So I think with time I'm gonna have to decide if I want to keep this one or if I want to keep this one. I do use them for different stuff. And it's not like, I would say maybe a month goes by and I don't use this, but then I end up using it again. Okay, that's it for this one. This seems like it was tons of stuff, but in reality, just these random things I got rid of, which still makes a huge difference. It seems like it's not a lot, but just this alone, I mean, notice now things fit better. All right, so here's the next drawer. I initially thought I had nothing to get rid of here until I noticed an old shredder, and here's a newer one that I actually got to replace the off-white one in the back. But instead of keeping this new one and getting rid of the old one, I ended up keeping both, which is obviously not the goal of buying more things. So this means I definitely have to get rid of this old one since that was the initial goal anyway. So yes, I started off with 5 shredders and I'm down to 3. Hopefully I'll be able to drop down to 2 shortly. The blender takes up most of the drawer now with just 1 shredder, and I also have this squeezy bottle that my husband actually uses for crepes now that he started making them. So I went ahead and finished these drawers. I know it's not as condensed as I like it to be, but I think it's a good start in the right direction. And yes, I had a lot more than this. So the fact that they actually fit and the drawer closes without getting jammed is a huge improvement. Here are some of the other things that I got rid of that I wasn't able to actually show you on camera. As much as I love the idea of this, I feel like I have a dud because it does not cut well. I rarely ever use this, and I know I can get by with just a fork. I just simply don't use these enough to hold on to them. I condensed from 3 brushes to 2. Everyone complains about this spoon being too short, so I definitely don't need it. I probably will just get rid of that one. I already have 2 peelers that I absolutely love. I'm not head over heels for this one. My mixer came with 3 different tips, and the truth is I didn't want to separate it, but yet again I'm facing this dilemma where I don't use 2 out of the 3 sets. And 3 of the 4 kids use knives, so I really can pass this egg slice. This is just a plastic thing that I will be recycling, and I feel like I always go with a Ziploc bag when it comes to making like frosting, so I definitely can get rid of that. I forgot to mention how I categorize these things. The first part is flippy floppies, or at least we call them that because we use them to flip food. Then the next one are whisks or brushes, followed by all the mixing spoons and serving spoons. And lastly, all the different spatulas that I own that I had no idea I had. There is one that I can technically get rid of, which is the Christmas one, but I have to say that we were really excited this Christmas when it came to baking to pull this one out. Maybe I'll just store that with the Christmas stuff. In the back is all grilling stuff with our thermometers, and then things for cleaning like our espresso machine and our egg timer, which I'm deciding if I should part with, but for now I'm going to hold on to it and just see how often we're going to use it. But I do really like it because it's super easy for us to see if it's soft-boiled, medium-oiled, or hard-boiled. I know I could do better about some of the spoons, but I'm going to basically, now that I've separated them into categories, I'll be able to see which ones I use more. Since they were actually separated by different sets, it was hard to tell what I have or what I need. And so this way I'll be able to see like which spoons do I use more often, or which spatulas do I use more often, because usually I resorted to using like these small spatulas, but that's because this was at the bottom of the whole set, so I don't even think I even knew that I had a huge spatula. So I'll definitely condense a little bit more, but for now this is it. So I am done with these 6 drawers, and hopefully over time I'll be able to just condense a little more. I know again for many it might not be minimalist, but this is minimalist from where I'm coming from. I've already done the utensil drawer and the one next to it, including the spice drawer where I changed all the containers around. I'm gonna go ahead and do the container drawer, and that's because I have an idea of how to approach it. I'm thinking, as I watched the Minimal Mom, she mentioned making sure that the container and the lid went together, and so I'm going to try the method, see if it saves me a little bit of space, and see if it's a little easier for the kids to have access to them. I pretty much wanted to keep the ones that are similar and that we use frequently and get rid of all the just little random ones that I have. I basically will like bake or cook for somebody, and then I just let them keep it, obviously, then you don't have to worry about it. So these actually don't even belong here. But since the kids help with the dishes, they just put them in here, and then I have to put them above the fridge. And here I was thinking that my containers actually went together, and I did not know that I have a hodgepodge mess of all these. Some don't even have lids, some I have extra lids for. I actually thought they matched and I didn't have such a huge variety of different brands. No wonder the whole family was confused on what lids go with what containers. I was the only one that had it straight, but only looking back at it now, I realized what a hodgepodge this was. Man, I do not like the fact that I have, again, several different types. I wish they were all just one type. This was probably the worst drawer to go through just because it felt like nothing matched. I couldn't even figure out which containers to keep, so I started using this pink container to put the things that I'm getting rid of, which originally just stored lids, which took away more than 25% of the drawer. I'm not even sure how people end up with lids and containers that don't match. I mean, it reminds me of lost socks. Like, do they get eaten by the machine? Do they get eaten by the dishwasher? It just seems silly to end up with all these. Like, if they would break, I feel like I would get rid of them. So I have no idea where they went or how it turned into a hodgepodge. But moral of the story is definitely go through your container drawer and match them up so that you know which container goes with what lids. And I would highly recommend that you store them that way, because not only did it help me save a bunch of space, but now I actually have containers that are my go-to ones, and I don't have a bunch of different brands. After this decluttering process, I ended up going back through a lot of them and figuring out which ones are my go-to ones. Those are the ones I want to keep, and all the extras I ended up passing along. And if you do have glass containers, reach out to the company if the lids end up breaking, because I had 3 glass ones without lids, and I ended up reaching out to the company and they send me new ones. Like, here I was thinking that my lids all match my containers because I go through them frequently. Well, apparently not. Granted, some of them do match, they're just cracked, but like, that's still a lot of random ones. And then of course we have this whole set that I'm getting rid of. And since I gained space in this prime location, I was able to also bring down a few mixing bowls that I use frequently that I wanted easier access to. Just to make it easier for the rest of the family, I regrouped it so that it's similar to what I had before. I'll do my husband's lunches, the kids' lunches, the containers to store food, and then I'll keep all the round ones down here instead, and this is the random ones that I want to get rid of. I think I like that a lot better. I was able to get rid of the 3 containers in the middle once the replacement lids came in. So here's what it actually looks like with all the changes made. I only had one thing that I wasn't really using in this drawer, so I went ahead and I just relocated it since it's part of a set. And then I'm going to decide if I'm going to actually get rid of it in the long run. This is pretty much the drawer that I use every single day because I have the oven mittens and the hot pads in there, so that's definitely a daily use. So on to the next drawer down here. This is where I keep like paper goods, plates that the kids use. I actually have an extra set of kids plates that I have with the regular plates. So I know I need to get rid of this whole set since there's only 4 of them and we have 4 kids. As soon as we have more kids over, I resort to the turquoise ones. So I was able to move a few more things to the bottom, like my scale and hot pads. That way I was able to bring out the Ninja and have it in a more prime location instead of harder to take out. Here are the piles of things that I got rid of. This was a huge process, and I am so happy with how much I got rid of. Some of these things were super beat up and old, while other things were actually in decent condition. I just didn't use them. Now again, I still have a long way to go because this was only the first time going through everything. I think over time I'll learn what I don't use, what actually just sits there, you know, waiting to be used, so I'll be able to get rid of even more. But this was definitely a huge dent into the kitchen. So far there's only one thing that I actually regretted getting rid of, and that's one of those covers that I could use instead of the plastic wrap. I'm not sure if it's just the container, but every single time I use plastic wrap, it just doesn't stick well to it. And so it would have been nice to have one of those lids, but that's okay. I will survive without it. And hopefully remember to use one of these mixing containers that actually comes with a lid next time. I actually thought I would miss the avocado slicer, but nope, a knife will do just fine. And there's another 159 items gone, and I am so excited because I'm starting to feel a major difference. If this inspires you, and if you are enjoying this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so you can get our weekly updates. See you ladies next time.